You guys are very good at believing non-existing things. All of these sightings have been very recent sightings, right?
Yeah.
It's not been like, okay, the last sighting was like 100 years ago or whatever.
Right. Yeah. You found one? You have
So then
evidence?
it's not a
Why can't we
cryptid,
just
no?
test it?
Yeah, I mean,
People say that they found Bigfoot prints
Yeah.
too. Hercules has Pegasus.
okay.
So who does like Jack the Ripper or someone like ride, you know?
Okay.
Hello and welcome to this episode of I Should Have Known, the trivia game show that can't be trusted. Each week, one of our quizmasters will present you with 4 facts about a topic, but one of them is a lie. We're doing Stranger Than Fiction as our theme to celebrate Halloween this month. So we're kind of playing with the idea of like fiction versus reality. And I will be your quizmaster today. I'm Andi. And I'm doing a Find the Fake episode. I'm calling Beyond Bigfoot because we're going to be talking about cryptids. So I will present you with 4 of these cryptid creatures from around the world, except one of them is actually a creature from fiction. So join our other hosts, Sups and Tanner, in figuring out which cryptid is stranger than fiction. 3 of them are real, if you believe, in the sense that I did not invent them. And then the 4th one is a creature from fiction.
Okay.
Fictional universe, which you are certain to be familiar with, though maybe not the creature.
Got
So we have to talk a little bit about what are cryptids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The heck is a cryptid?
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of to maybe get into it, we can do the PQQ.
Sure.
Okay.
So our pub quiz question is, what is the name of the large, hairy, human-like creature said to inhabit the Himalayas?
Oh, is it the Yeti?
Yeti.
Yes, so the Yeti.
Okay.
Right, so
Mhm.
yeah, so you thought it was going to be
Oh,
Bigfoot.
I thought it was real. It's not real?
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Okay.
So that's the idea of cryptids. It comes from this pseudoscience called cryptozoology. So cryptids are animals or creatures that are sometimes kind of monstrous, that are believed to live in the world, but cannot be verified using modern science. The idea is if someone claims that they saw one and they have
Mhm.
evidence of one, that would be a cryptid
Okay.
in that way.
Mhm.
So I have 4 creatures from all over the world. Pretty much no part of the world doesn't have cryptids.
Right.
Okay.
So,
And they're not Bigfoot. This is beyond Bigfoot
Yes.
and the Yeti.
Bigfoot, Yeti, Loch Ness Monster. These are probably some of the most famous
Famous.
ones.
Yeah.
We don't get off the hook that easily.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be Nessie. Okay. So let's do cryptid number 1, the melonheads of the eastern United States.
Melon heads?
Yeah, so we have to start with the U.S. because I feel like there are so many cryptids in the U.S.
You guys are very good at believing non-existing things, I think.
This whole concept is pretty American.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the melonheads, primarily stories come from either Michigan, Connecticut, or Ohio. They are a humanoid
Okay.
cryptid with large, round, bald heads.
Okay.
Just like the name suggests,
Sure.
they're melonheads.
Yeah.
So origins vary, but they're considered to be a race or a group, a tribe of feral children who live in the forest. They typically practice cannibalism and will attack anyone who wanders into the forest.
Oh, no.
Typically, they're said to be either the product of mad scientists' experiment, or often they're abused inmates at asylums. So the story comes from the era in the early 20th century of insane asylums in the U.S., which were real and were horrific, and they basically tortured people with mental illness and even people who didn't have mental illness but just were not socially acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Some people even say scientifically they just have hydrocephalus.
Oh.
One of the origins is that they were sent to the asylum for having this.
It's just a medical condition where fluid builds up in your head.
Yeah, but some say it was developed from their cannibalism
Okay.
Okay.
and that they and their descendants live in the forest and attack people and are seen on like the sides of the roads.
Yeah. Okay. This is interesting because to me it sounds like a mixture between like the Greys, like the alien stories where they have the big smooth head, and then like the Hills Have Eyes where like people are like irradiated or like incestual and then they look like weird and they all live together and they eat people, and like sounds like the middle ground between that.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, I think this sounds believable in that like people tell this story.
Okay.
You know, I think it sounds like a real cryptid.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like a fictional book.
That's
know?
interesting. Because based off the description, this sounds very comic booky to me.
Okay.
I understand a lot of these elements did exist, and I can understand where the creativity or the experience comes from. It just sounds very, like fiction.
Yeah.
Like not like a real cryptid.
Right.
Like the opposite of what you're thinking, basically.
Right.
Like experiments, scientists, prisoners escaping, and especially like the name.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine like the name.
It's not even scary.
Yeah, I know, right? It has to be slightly more creative than that. Like, melon heads. I'm not scared. Like, imagine he got killed by a melon head.
Oh,
like,
no. Be scared of the melon heads. They're going to eat you. Like,
know,
are you
right?
kidding me?
But I guess we have like more cryptids
Yeah.
to make up our minds.
Yeah.
Okie doke. We have cryptid number 2.
Mm-hmm.
The Nandi bear of Kenya, or Nandi bear, also known as a chemosit. This comes from the western highlands of Kenya and some other parts of some other East African countries. It is a shaggy, hunchback carnivore similar to a hyena, and it is nocturnal. Sometimes it's seen on its hind legs, so it's kind of bipedal sometimes. This particular Nandi is from the group of people who live in the highlands.
Oh.
It has many, many other names, depending on who you are or where exactly you are in Kenya or in East Africa. So this is just the most common name. Sightings by Europeans were very common in the 20th century, though it has not been seen since the 1990s. Some people think that deforestation in its native habitat has contributed to its potential extinction.
Okay.
It is sometimes said to kill people, but it does not hunt them, so it's not a monster.
Mm-hmm.
It mostly lives in the forest, but most scientists say that it's just mistaken sightings of the spotted hyena or honey badgers, or in an alternate cryptid theory, it is a living calicothere, which were a prehistoric herbivore. It was like stocky, had longer front legs than back legs, and kind of a giraffe-like neck. This was an actual creature, but they're all thought to be extinct. But some people have proposed that the Nandi bear is one of these.
I think this one, the name is convincing.
Yeah.
Let's start with,
Yeah.
as compared to number 1, the name's convincing.
It sounds creepy enough.
It sounds creepy
More than
enough.
melon heads.
Yes.
Yeah.
It had elements of Africa. Okay,
Uh-huh.
that's cool. Okay, I understand the nightlife, nocturnal sightings haven't happened. I mean, it has potential. It has legs to stand on.
Yeah.
2 of them, to
Yeah.
be
Two of them.
exact.
Sometimes 4, sometimes 2.
Usually 4.
Okay, so this is believable.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, because I'm trying to think, because one of them is like fictional,
Right.
right? So
Where the
again,
heck could this
just
come from?
yes, just trying to think if I know of any fiction when there's like somewhat of a similar
Right.
mention.
Yeah. I'm trying to think too, like a movie or like a book series or like a world where it could be from. I'm drawing a blank there, but like, does it sound like an Ewok or something from Star Wars?
Star
you know?
Wars, yeah. I mean,
Or like a Wookiee.
Wookiee,
A
yes.
mixture between a Wookiee and an Ewok.
What's very interesting to me is that you mentioned that this cryptid has like many names,
Yeah.
right? That to me is quite interesting.
It's like Bigfoot and Sasquatch. Different name for the same thing. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Lines up.
element.
Yeah.
But I mean, now that you put Wookiee in my head,
Maybe it's
Nandi.
real.
And also the word Nandi. Like, I think I was also thinking in those terms. Like,
Yeah.
is this a Kenyan word? You lived in Kenya.
I mean, we stayed there for like a month. I didn't encounter any
Nandi, you
Any
didn't come across.
cryptids when I was
No,
there.
no. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably real.
Like
Real cryptid.
Real
yeah.
cryptid. Yes.
Right.
Oh.
Do
Yeah,
you
okay.
believe in its existence is a different question.
Yeah.
So, cryptid number 3, the flying death mare of the British Isles.
Whoa.
So this is a skeletal winged horse with black bat-like wings.
That sounds metal. This is super metal.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has a very impronounceable Celtic name
Of course.
that I'm not
It
going to
has,
try,
like-
so we're just going to call it the flying death mare. Yeah, so it's primarily found in Ireland. The sightings go back to the late 19th century, and the latest sightings actually was in 1996.
Wow.
So it's a flying horse
Uh-huh.
that is like skeletal and has wings. It's said to be carnivorous.
Oh, God.
You bet. It's not going to feast on
So-
like roses.
It
Yeah.
eats livestock.
Oh,
Mhm.
It's said to be harmless to humans.
okay.
Okay.
There isn't really a good explanation of what this might be.
Yeah.
Some people have claimed a Celtic connection, but there isn't a known myth like this in Celtic tradition.
Mm-hmm.
They're said to pretend death or visit the grieving
Okay.
or just attack livestock. They kind of don't really have like a clear understanding.
They don't have a mission statement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
so
I don't know. They
weird.
haven't all these people haven't like collectively
Okay.
decided what this
Right.
creature is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some scientists have suggested that it's based off of birds,
Mhm.
particularly kestrels,
Okay.
which are carnivorous birds that live in this region and are symbolic in Celtic myth.
Do they have black leathery wings?
No, the bat-like wings, I don't know. The timing also kind of coincides with airplanes.
Oh.
So some people suggest that these rural Irish or British farmers, they see airplanes, they don't know what they are,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they're flying horses.
I mean,
Having a pint out in the
Yeah,
field.
I
you're
know,
like,
you fell
right?
asleep
Yeah.
in your
What was that?
yeah, what's that? Yeah, okay.
There's a
Yeah.
horse. It's like
Okay.
a metal version of Pegasus.
Yeah,
It's the undead
They're
Pegasus.
almost always seen flying.
Right.
Okay. So it kind of fits with the plane
Yeah.
idea.
Definitely sounds so Irish to me.
Flying death mare. That's awesome. I'm leaning towards it being from fiction.
Really?
I think it sounds like what I would come up with for a comic book or like
Mm.
some Hercules has Pegasus.
Okay.
So who does like Jack the Ripper or someone like ride, you know?
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Like
that's
so I think this
right.
this is like prime for some fiction.
okay.
Jack
Back
the
the
Ripper.
I don't know.
Evil death
Yeah.
mare horse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I have to respectfully disagree.
That's fine.
It's believable to me because it's not that weird of a thought.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of like ideas in mind or what human beings can actually cook up thoughts,
Yeah.
right? Sure, maybe they're just mistaken with planes. But the fact that I think this is realistic enough
Mhm.
for people to believe it.
It is simple. It's just a
Yes.
horse with wings.
Yeah.
Also, it's like black and skeletal and
Yes,
whatever.
not- yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Very believable. But
yes.
It's
But
the
not
rest.
it's the rest.
Yeah.
And Ireland. Like, do you know any more myths about Ireland?
I do know some.
Yeah.
But
None.
there's like a water horse, but
Okay.
like
No,
it's definitely a myth. You know, it's not like
Mhm.
I saw a water horse yesterday. Like
Yeah.
this is reported in like the 90s.
Like all of these sightings have been very recent
Yeah,
sightings, right?
yeah.
It's not been like, okay, the last sighting was like 100 years ago or whatever.
right, Yeah. Hmm.
Very interesting.
All right. So, cryptid number 4, the Yemish of Patagonia. So, Patagonia is in South America. Particularly, we're talking about Argentina.
Okay.
It is sometimes called a water tiger. It is an aquatic fox or jaguar-like body with a serpent or otter-like tail.
Awesome.
It's a little bit bigger than a puma. It lives in mountain lakes. It moves just as quickly on land as in water. And it is said to have a soul-wrenching scream.
Oh.
It is also impenetrable to arrows, and samples of skin show thick bone-like plates.
Oh.
First sightings are from the 19th century, and the first European who reported seeing this animal said it was a neomylodon. And the mylodons are, again, a prehistoric creature. It's the South American ground sloth.
Oh, okay.
So these were real animals that actually existed but went extinct before humans arrived or humans drove them to extinction.
Mhm.
But this was saying that it's a new one that is still alive in the remote mountains
Mhm.
of Patagonia. Other proposals are giant otters
Yeah, it sounds like an otter to me.
being mistaken, and otters have like a waterproof fur,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess could seem like being impenetrable to arrows.
Maybe.
But to add a little extra wrinkle, there are no local myths of any of the local indigenous people of this creature or similar creatures. And the word Yemish comes from German. It's got the SCH at the end.
Okay.
So there is no similar or related word in any of the local languages. So it's kind of a
What?
mystery.
It's like a settler cryptid. Like
Yeah.
it's not indigenous to the area.
Though indigenous people and local people have reported seeing it since the first sighting,
So,
which was by a European descended person.
Okay.
So
first of all, with the name, it's definitely not a local name, right? In any
Mhm.
of the languages, there's merit in that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the aquatic part that's kind of
In the murky water,
Yeah,
you're like, oh, there it goes.
yes,
It's interesting to me that they had samples of it
yes,
Yeah.
with the
yes,
skin.
yeah.
That's weird. Like,
Hmm.
you found one? You have
So then
evidence?
it's not a
Why can't we just
cryptid, no?
test it?
Yeah, I mean,
People say that they
Yeah.
found Bigfoot like
Yeah, okay.
prints
Yeah,
too,
it's-
but
Yeah, it's not agreed that the skin sample, they
Yeah.
haven't been tested.
Okay.
It's not agreed that they're from
right.
this creature.
Mm.
Yeah. But also, if it were from fiction, Yemish. This name is very peculiar name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it a German name
Yeah.
in Patagonia? Pretty weird.
Yemish. This name puts me off. Like
Yeah.
Yemish. It's not a. It sounds like a cryptid name.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of fiction.
Right.
Like if you're trying to think of popular fiction,
Exactly.
or unless it's some like vague fiction that
Right.
we can't do. But she did mention that we would know of the fiction.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to be like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, like something big.
So that, which means that these are, let's say, common universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yemish. That's why I think it's a real one.
Yeah, I think that too. I was really hoping that it would obviously be fictional because the other three I'm so on the fence about.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm leaning towards that one being real.
But it's also not scary. Aren't
Cryptids don't have to be
cryptids-
scary.
Okay, they don't have to be scary. Okay.
All right, well, before we pick which cryptid is actually a work of fiction, could you please repeat the 4 creatures for us?
Of course. Cryptid number 1, the melon heads of the eastern United States. Cryptid number 2, the Nandi bear of Kenya. Cryptid number 3, the flying death mare of the British Isles. And cryptid number 4, the Yamish of Patagonia. One of those is actually a creature from a fictional universe.
Okay. I thought it was number 2, the Nandi bear from Kenya. I thought it was like this like tree-dwelling Wookiee sort of thing. But now that I think of like universes and stories of cryptids, I'm leaning towards number 3. I think the flying death mare is not an actual cryptid. I think it's from like The Witcher.
Oh, well played. That's a good one.
Because I know they have
Yeah.
creatures sort of like that, like creepy style.
That's a good one. I would totally believe you, but like my belief in what you just said
Mhm.
is less than my personal belief of number 2
Number 2. Okay.
being from a fiction.
Okay.
Number 2, I cannot pick which universe. I mean, definitely
Right.
there is the Wookiee relevance, but I don't think this is like a Star Wars. But for me, why this comes from a fiction is because there's too many things happening in this description.
Okay.
So I'm just basing off of that and a little bit of hunch and 20% feelings. So
Okay.
stay with number 2.
All right.
Yep.
Let's see.
Okay, I can't believe neither of you mentioned Pokemon.
Well, I thought maybe number 4 would be Pokemon, but I would have heard of a water
That
tiger.
was going to
Yeah.
be where I took the cryptid from, but I thought it would be too obvious.
Yeah.
It is from the Harry Potter universe.
Oh.
Do you know what thestrals are?
They're flying death horses.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
That's the number 2.
I know
that one.
So
Yeah.
thestrals are the skeletal winged horse from the Harry Potter universe. They are carnivorous, and the latest sighting was from 1996 because
Of
that's
course.
that's the year that Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix takes place. So the thestrals are used to pull the carts to Hogwarts. But to most people, it looks like the carts are invisible because thestrals are invisible unless you have witnessed a death and come to terms with it if you're really nerdy. So after Harry witnesses, spoiler alert, Cedric Diggory's death in the Goblet of Fire,
Mhm.
he can see them the next year pulling the wagons. So it is from Harry Potter.
Nah.
And it is from the British Isles.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I like.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
In the universe's mythology, they are native to the British Isles, but sightings are also found in northern France and Iberia, which to me is like a Celtic connection. I don't know.
Mhm.
Some people claim this comes from myth, but like I could find no myth.
Mhm.
Basically, it's just you take a winged horse, you make it a death metal version,
Yeah.
and that's where the creature comes from.
And you
It's-
almost said the name because you said it's related to
Yeah,
kestrels.
kestrel.
Like,
yeah,
oh,
that was
yeah.
in there.
that's such a
I
good
didn't-
hint.
I didn't want to say thestral. I thought it'd be too obvious
Yeah.
because, again, Harry Potter is a very, very popular
yeah, that would give it away.
universe. But yes, so
But I like that you made it cute that it just only did livestock and not humans. Because
well, they in the universe,
Yeah.
thestrals are considered dangerous, but they're not known to hunt or prey upon humans, and you can actually ride them.
Mhm.
He rides them
Yeah.
in that book.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Harry Potter.
That
yes,
is
totally.
definitely popular enough.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I should have known.
I should have known.
Thanks for listening to this episode of I Should Have Known. We are going to finish up our Stranger Than Fiction theme next week with our special Halloween episode, where your quizmaster will be Tanner, and he's going to be telling us spooky stories from weird fiction. So get excited for that. And as always,
Is it Bigfoots or big feet?